So many Magic cards in desperate need of reprinting, Wizards needs to hit the restock button now. So many Magic cards, so few reprintings. Wizards needs to get on this, right? Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks for hanging out with me today as I go through a list of cards you probably should be watching at this point if you're a collector or investor of Magic the Gathering. Now, some of the cards on this list are reserve list cards because I do follow them and I like to see where some of these cards are headed, but a lot of cards on the list today are definitely non-reserve list cards in desperate need of reprinting. As I've started to build my new commander decks, I've been looking into some of these cards and see the increase in value over time has been astronomical for a few of these, going back to 2014. So let's go ahead, take a look at some awesome cards, and let me know what you guys think at the end of the video in the comment section. How many of these cards really need a reprinting? So we're starting off with a couple of easy cards here. Taknuma Abandoned Meyer is a recent release. We all know it just came out in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, but this card is $5 right now. And history has taught me a lesson. I went ahead and bought 4 right away. It doesn't come into play tapped. It has an awesome channel ability which mills cards and gets me a planeswalker or a creature. Do I really think this card is going to stick around at that low priced level? I don't think so. This thing will find a home in Commander because it's going into my Commander deck right now, and that means I've at least got 3 more for later. These are cards you have to pay attention to, guys. They're not going to stay that cheap forever. The same goes for Seat of the Empire. I put 1 right away into my Angel Commander deck, and I've got 3 more that I'm holding on to. I wish I'd managed to get some full art ones, the alternate ones. They are beautiful, but again, a $5 card. These are super cheap and affordable now. But if you're watching this card, if you're an investor or flipper later on, or you're a person who hasn't bought one yet, this might be a card you want to grab onto, at least to have a play set of 4. What's 20 bucks when the card goes up to $8, $10, or $15 later? They don't come into play tapped. They give you the mana you need, and you can use them for burning people out or using whatever affects all of the mana base that Kamigawa gives us. Otawar, they're all good lands, man. Keep this stuff in Boziju, who endures. Come on. You're going to have a play set of each one. They're going to find a home in a lot of different decks. Just keep an eye on it. Now, our next card today, Back Channel Pathways, Kaldheim or Zendikar Rising. Keep an eye on this stuff because these lands are starting to move. They're slowly drifting up, and a few are already past the $10 mark. If you start looking, guys, you will be surprised. Now, I was lucky and I got a play set of each one, and I have some extra full arts and a couple of foil ones I've held on to. I feel very, lucky to have got those. I probably don't need to buy any more because they're already starting to creep up. But if you haven't got any or you don't have a play set of the ones you might be using, yeah, now's your chance to grab onto them. They're not going to stay this cheap much longer. Remember, these sets are rotating out soon. And, it's great we got the new enemy triomes in there. But look at the Ikoria ones. You can imagine, even if these go up half as high, you're still talking a 30 or 40% increase on that price. It is something to note and pay attention to. Now, Thrall Champion, you guys know, is a pet card of mine on the channel. I just love having it. There is potential for cards like this, and I don't mean specifically Thrall Champion, but when you look at the way that Wizards of the Coast has been giving tribal support, if you start looking at some janky cards, we notice Rhinos are getting a lot more support. What happens if more Minotaurs get support and Didgeridoo goes up even higher? You have to start looking for those ins and out of those little cards that may jump up in price. And some could be a cheap reserve list card or a card that hasn't been reprinted in years and it just hasn't jumped up yet. But when Wizards does that thing where they just go, hey, we like this card, we'll connect it with this card, and now we've got a cool tribal support theme inside this new modern set. That's great. And then old cards jump up. Remember when Deranged Hermit was 15 bucks? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right. Now we go ahead. Arabian Nights. When we're talking about anything Arabian Nights, from common, uncommon, rare, whatever you want to call it, if I get the opportunity and I see some for $9 or less, even if it's kind of a moderate to heavy played, I usually grab it if I get the opportunity. If I've got it at the cash register, I go, how much is that card? And they give me a price I like, I do add it in because Arabian Nights are just in such short supply. And putting some of that stuff into an old deck, even if it's a reprintable version of the card, having the original OG version of these kind of cards is just a style factor that can't be matched nowadays. I mean, the card's coming up on 30 years old. Where do you think they're going to go? Go to ground zero, or they're going to keep going up? Just say if you're an investor. Now, Opposition Agent. Great card, you know, just still finishing its cycle off, just went out of print. But things like this, Commander Legends, what are the odds they're going to reprint this anytime soon? A lot of the cards I'm showing you today have not jumped in value. A few of them already have. But when I look at this card and I say, look what it does, it flash, it's a 3/2 for 3, look what this can do in a Commander deck. I'm adding it to my Commander deck myself, and I think I paid $9 for mine. It's something to watch because cards like this have that weird way of just all of a sudden spiking up and nobody notices. So Opposition Agent, you're awesome. Keeping an eye on you. I already got one. I'm good for my deck, but if you don't have any, you know, something to watch. Shadow Spear. Now, I did not know this had gone up so much in price. I have 2 of them, but they're already in decks, and I don't want to pay $30 for another one, so I had to pull one out of a deck I'd already constructed. I hate when that happens. I should have bought 4 when they were only a couple of bucks each, guys. These are from Theros Beyond Death. This thing just rotated out, and there's cards like this creeping up all over that set. People who did the whole poodoo, it's awful, evil, has the old stigma of the original Theros. They haven't been taking a look at some of the cards in the set because there's a lot of cards of value that are holding very strong in other formats. I need this in my Commander deck. I had to put it in. I mean, should this one get a reprint soon? It probably should, but is it going to? Wizards doesn't have a habit of putting these things in right away. It takes a few years for them to rotate it through because they have such a backlog of cards they already should be reprinting. All right, now again, Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. Amazing, right? But it's still a $25 card. Even though it's rotated out, this thing is like, it's done. But look at the value still. These things are holding on for some reason because they're being played. I wanted to put one in my Commander deck. I'm lucky enough I did have a spare. But the idea, I thought this card would drop down to like $8 to $10. It isn't happening. A lot of these cards are now always finding homes in some secondary format. So they're being gobbled up by the secondary players, the investors, other formats. And then Wizards, you know, cycles things along at a certain pace. And you're like, come on already. Put a little more into the bowl for us to bite from. Kind of crazy, but that is the way the cookie crumbles. All right, Null Rod. This is a card I'm keeping an eye on because with all the new things coming up for the new Urza, you know, the Brother of Mishra War, when we see that stuff out there and we're expecting a lot of artifacts, when you start looking at cards like this, you're like, oh yeah, this thing was at $300 at one point, and it's dropped all the way down to like $100. Moderately heavily played ones for $50, $60. Yeah, this is a card people have already started to buy. I remember it was on my top 10 list last week. Guys, this is something to pay attention to. This is a card that has lots of uses, has a low mana cost with a high ability to it. It's versatile with the deck construction you build around it. Way to go, Null Rod. I'm keeping an eye on you. I did buy 1 more. I probably should have bought 2 more. Then I would have had my play set. Now, when it comes to Kaladesh Inventions, I don't care which one you're talking about. They're all going to go up in value. That style has not been repeated now. It's been a number of years. They were hard to get. They weren't in every pack. You're lucky if you got one in every couple of boxes. And there was lots of variation to them. This is one of the ones I really respect. I like them. I like the look and the feel of it. And they are collectible to me. And they do have that style factor that will draw players in, wanting to purchase them in the future over a regular version if they have the money to spend. Now, Savannah Unlimited Edition cards. I put a couple here on the list because they are underpriced. When you have regular Savannahs hitting that $500-$600 mark and you see an Unlimited for $1,200, which is double the price, I get that. But look at the print run difference between these two sets and you'll realize these are vastly underrated and undervalued right now. When the market catches up to Unlimited, when the market decides to finally devour what's left of Unlimited out there, those people who have been gobbling up singles and doubles of these cards in the set, reserve list or non-reserve list, are going to be very well rewarded, I believe. All right, Soul Ring. I know, another Kaladesh, but this one here, this masterpiece, I love this Soul Ring. I wish they would reprint it. I know it's not coming around, and I know I can just buy a regular Soul Ring for $250, but this is the card I wish I'd bought a long time ago. I'm not willing to spend $1,200 to get this card, but I wish when I saw it for like $300 back in the day, I'd bought it. This is one of those regrets. I'm like, oh, this is one card that would have been really good in some of the decks I'm working on, and I just kind of go, I miss this card. All right, Drop of Honey. Again, Arabian Nights. We talked about this. But cards like Drop of Honey, they've come up with Prophesary Notes and cards that are like it, but in different color variation. And why not put them together? You know what I'm saying? Cards like this aren't coming back around. They can never reprint it. They're not going to reprint it. Anyone who says they are, I disagree with you strongly. And I look at this card and say, $1,200, this card's going to $2,000. And I need one for my collection. So that's one of the goals I'll have for 2023, I am sure. All right, Badlands Revised Edition. Revised Edition dual lands have been they haven't quite made my top 10 lists. They're not quite making it every time. But they're always at 18 to 20 sales, consistently being bought. And when I look at the near mints versus the heavily played, the moderate play copy, the distance between those two prices is not very great. You're talking 20% usually. You might as well go for the near mint. Grab the investable version that you can play with, proxy it into a deck, but hold on to the real deal and keep it safe. I don't think anyone's going to argue with you proxying a card if you have the original, but near mint cards are they're getting harder to come across. And if you're a person who might be wanting to invest in revised, I definitely recommend only hitting those near mint cards first before other people catch on. Look what's happening in Unlimited and you will understand. All right, Volross Stronghold. I remember this card at like $80 when I bought my near mint one. It went all the way up to like 200 and it's kind of come all the way back down. I do have a couple of copies, so I don't need this for my commander deck as I'm building, but I had a friend who wanted one. I'm going, they're like $100, and you're like, they're still 100 right now. Again, when you see Stronghold and these cards come around again and people start adding them in, it puts a creature card back on top of your library. It takes it right from your graveyard. When I look at that card with Abandoned Meyer, I'm like, there's combos all over the place for cards like this. It is undervalued. It will go back up at some point. If you're a person looking to get this card, get it while it's low and hit the near mint market. There are still quite a few available at this point. You won't regret it in the long run. 7 years from now, you'll be thanking me. Anvil of Bow Gardens, same thing. This thing was up to like $150, $200. It's crashed down to like $50, $60. It's 2 casting cost. I'm sorry. It is a card people should be buying right now. If you don't have one, at least get one so you'll have, I mean, it's reserve list, but at least you'll have one for commander play just in case you're going to build around in the future. When this card goes back up, it'll just feel out of reach. And it's one of those cards like, it's $50. It's like, one takeout dinner. I don't know. All right. Vorinclex, Monstrous Raider. Now, I feel the same about all these new Phyrexian Praetors that have been printed lately in the last couple of sets. They are buys. Okay, especially the Phyrexian writing version, especially this particular version that's non-foil, but it's in the Phyrexian writing. $36 is going to steal like a steal. They're not going to reprint this card fast enough for people. It has great abilities, great versatility, and it just looks so cool. And with the upcoming sets like Dominaria United, you see they're linking stories together. The Phyrexians are probably the ones invading Dominaria. As much as I'd like to say Team Thrall, let's face it, it's going to be the Phyrexians, and they're trying to find a way back to Dominaria to overtake the world and cause a big worldwide calamity. I can't wait to see how they put the story arc together. Hopefully Wizards does a good job, but because of that, cards like this will have some serious value. Keep that in mind. If you're a person who hasn't had any, if you're a person investing, you might want some. All right, Vexing Shusher, one of those cards that I just love. And I think it's underrated, undervalued. I know it'll get reprinted. But cards like this, when you say it can't be countered and it can make your spells uncounterable, it's 2 for a 2/2. It has a lot going for it. This Shadowmoor, this card got me through so many troubled times in my vintage legacy decks that I love it to this day. A foil version will cost you because foils were harder to get back then. But it's a great card to grab at this low price before it eventually drifts back up again. It's not likely to get a reprint anytime soon just because the value is so low on it right now. Wizards wants equity to build. Deadly Dispute. Now this is a card I'm watching, but the reason I'm telling you guys to watch it is remember cards like this are dangerous. It is a common from Dungeons & Dragons, which makes it a fun card. Great. It's in rotation. But this card is going to get reprinted as fast as Wizards can. You don't want to be caught holding the bag on a card like this when it's worth $5 now because it's a common. It's gone up to $5. That's crazy. But as soon as they reprint it, it's going to crash down to nothingness. And somebody, whoever bought all these copies in the last year since it came out, is just going to be caught hanging on with a lot of cards that are basically worthless cardboard because it's going to go down like, remember Opt? Remember some of the other cards out there that were like, you know, preordained that had a lot of value and they just reprinted until they drove the price down? That's going to happen, guys. Don't get caught holding on. I sold off all the extra play sets I had. I kept 2 play sets and that's it. All right. Now we're talking Elvish Farmer. This is one of those reserve list cards that's gone up and down and up and down. Been as high as I think like 10 bucks. If you're going to be buying into Fallen Empires or any of these low-end reserve list things and you're watching the cards to see, remember the motto, near mint only. These cards were abused. They got opened, they got tossed around, they got thrown out. There's a lot sitting in bulk bins for sure, but are they near mint? Are they investable, gradable copy? Even if they're only worth $5, if you're buying a low-end card, you got to make sure it's going to be worth your while. We've talked about this in the past on a lot of the stuff I've done for my reserve list cards to watch, and I'm going to just, you know, go again from the podium here and say, this is a card which I love and I will continue to buy copies of it whenever I get the chance, but I'm buying the near mint ones because I can see that hole in the market. All right. Love the Zendikar Expeditions, okay? Beautiful, amazing, bloodstained Meyer. And the reason I'm showing this is because I need one for my commander deck, and it's no problem. It's a red-black commander. I can get one, no big deal. I'd like to get this one. And I saw the price and I said, $200 is a lot of money, but they're not going to reprint this. I mean, they can, but they won't. These kind of specialty cards like this, they're going to sit there. So this is a card I'm probably going to grab a copy of. When I started looking back on these and I realized, you know, they haven't changed that much in value over the years. They've actually drifted down a little bit with all these flashy new reprints around them. But these were the first ones, the OGs. And you know, you guys all know how I feel about OG versions of cards like this. There's something to hold on to. And the last one, of course, is going to be Bloodstained Meyer, Khans of Tarkir. Enemy fetch lands are probably getting a reprint. I don't recommend buying at this price right now until we see what comes out in Double Masters 2022 to see if they get a reprint of any kind going for these enemy fetch lands. They're just cards I don't think people need to drive out and buy right now at these prices. I saw they had some locally at the store and they were a fortune. I couldn't believe it. All right, let me just click this off. So as I'm looking at the financial viability of a Magic card I might be purchasing, all the cards on today's list are cards I'm watching, but not all the cards were ones I'm willing to rush out and purchase right now at those prices. I don't care if it's just 50, 60 bucks. I'm a working adult, and yes, I can go and get it, but I just don't feel it's worth it, or I feel the reprint is coming just too soon that I'm willing to wait things out. When this comes along and you see a card getting reprinted and you paid 50, 60 bucks, like say Noble Hierarch when it was $100, they reprinted it 2 times in a row within a year and a half and you're like, oh, it's down to 25 bucks. That is a kick in the pants for those who have paid the $100 to get that card. And I always fear that happening to me because it's not a reserve list card. And as I'm building my commander decks, I'm trying to figure out and navigate which cards are best suited to buy now and which ones I can wait for to purchase later. And by the way, if you have some good commander ideas to help me out with my red and black commander deck, I would love to see that in the comment section, or you can shoot me an email. I'm working with Tavesh, Doom of Fools, Tavesh, and Rogoth, Son of Rogoth. You guys know that from my regular on the channel. I can't wait to see how it all comes out, but I'm basically working with Thralls and Kobolds, but of course I am adding other creatures, so give me some of your best hitters so I can see if I have any, or I can get some. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in with Cards to Watch. I'm MTG Moxman. And of course, a giant shout out to all the fantastic patrons on the channel for making these videos possible each and every day. You're the true heroes, guys. Thanks again. Have an awesome day, everyone. You know, it's funny. You're here at the end of the video. Thanks a lot for hanging in there. And I saw my Rogoth, Son of Rogoth. And then we've got Tavesh, Sevet, Doom of Fools. And of course, I love them, right? They're awesome. 0 casting cost. Of course, I'm going to have Mox Amber in there. We got all kinds of Thralls. We got Kobolds coming. And I look at these 2 cards. And I realize all the other cards I need to make the commander deck at least half decent. You need, like, you know, I want to get a Badlands, which I have extra, so I'm okay. I still have a couple. But you got to put Badlands in there, Bloodstained Meyer. Before you know it, you're talking, this deck's going to reach a couple $1,000 without blinking. And I'm lucky I have a lot of the heavy-hitting cards I would need. But then you want to bling it out and stylish a bit, because it's going to be not a winning deck, but it's got to at least be a fun deck for me to play. And I'm hoping some of the ideas you guys give me for good red and black or combo cards that can somehow pump creatures, bring them back. I don't know, we'll see. Equipment. I was thinking about, you know, pumping up you know, Rogoth, son of Rogoth, all kinds of gear and equipment. I don't know. We'll see. I want to see what people's ideas come out as, because I've just got a lot of creatures and cards coming right now, and hopefully it plays out well. So thanks a lot for hanging out with me at the end, boys and girls. And, you know, I'm starting to enjoy Commander. That's kind of cool to say. Have an awesome day, everyone.